Thanks for coming. A couple of comments. I apologize after the bowl game. The organization wasn't great as far as opportunity to visit with, I know, our local guys. So I am going to hit it briefly on that first. Incredible effort by our guys, and my hat's off to our staff and to our to remain focused. And we've all seen the nightmarish ending to. That's something you're always concerned about, the college football playoff, and it also started back in the BCS era, where other colleagues I've talked to where the team no shows because fans are giving back tickets and it's not, you didn't make the prize and you didn't do this, and then you're still talking about the darn Fiesta Bowl or Sugar Bowl or Orange Bowl, these great bowl games. And so tremendous effort on the Buckeyes sideline and on the field, and our coaching staff and leaders of that team did a great job. The practices were great, the hospitality and everything. It was a really, really good bowl experience for our players. A couple bowl game notes that it was a probably the best special teams effort since we've been together for 4 years now. And this is once again against a very good team, very well coached team that has an emphasis on kicking game as well, as you can see on the videotape. But the kickoff team, I think we finished #1 in America in kickoff cover. It was either #1 or #2, and in our world, my world, it's #1 because they were phenomenal. The field position shift, I had Kerry Combs do it, and it's on the other sheet in my office. But it was I should probably get that for him. If you look right on my desk, there's a sheet that talks about the field position chart. But I think that'd be a good storyline just for football fans to really understand the game and understand when you start talking about the battle of field position. They had 5 kickoff returns for 50 yards, and I want to say 5 of them were inside the 15-yard line. There's some crazy number that I'm going to show you here in a second. Same thing with our punt coverage was very good. Only punted a couple times, but our punt return team was one of our most improved areas for the entire season. Handed the ball twice to the offense on the plus side, and the noticeable difference, if you go back and watch it once again for a real football fan or a student of the game, is when I call it abort, when the returner aborts. That means when he starts to shuffle his feet because the coverage is so close. Every time their kick returner aborted inside the 10-yard line, and the same thing with the punt returner. There's just really no opportunity for him because of the speed and effort going down the field, where the opposite, Jalen Marshall he had running starts with the ball. And same thing with Curtis Samuel and Jalen on a kickoff return. So I can't say enough. If you guys got another hour and a half, I'll visit with you about special teams and the performance in that bowl game. They had 7 drives, just a couple notes here. They had 7 drives starting inside the 20. We had 1. Only one of those drives did they score points. They had 6 drives start inside the 15. We had 1. Average start was 20. Average start was a -36. Our 16-yard start drive differential, which we spent a lot of time on, preaching it to our players, was the largest of the season. So that's that about the special teams. I'm sure I'll get a bunch of questions about that. The obvious news of the week is we have some young people, a couple 4th-year guys that have decided. Our 4th-year guys were Cardell, Tyvis, and Michael. 2 of them have their degrees in a national championship and some division championships. They decided to chase their dream. They did it. Everyone was so professional about how they did this. This started, if you remember, I think we won it last year on January 12th. This started on January 13th. And the year of stuff, but for the most part, we give up a last-second field goal to a very good team at the end of the season. Other than that, our guys did a good job, and they did do a very good job. And whether it's agents, whether it's uncles, whether it's whomever, all of these stuff out there is phenomenal. And I can't tell you how impressed I am that our guys are able to stay, because I've done this for a long time now, and I've seen where it's just complete disruption. And what about this, coach? What about this? What about this? And we all agreed that we're going to wait till, other than Zeke and I don't know if Joey came out earlier or not, but Cardell said something. But for the most part, it was even those guys are very professional, the way they handle their business. And you have to ask yourself why. And everything's a why to me. And I think because of the love for Ohio State, and more importantly, their love of their teammates and their coaching staff. And to stay professional, let's finish our job, let's go in there and play. We played 2 top 10 teams to close the season out. And this would be not a very pleasant press conference if we didn't do our jobs against those last 2 teams. And so very, very impressed with what those guys have done. It's obvious the 50-4 record in 4 years will go down in college football history, certainly Ohio State history, and well-deserved. And what does the future hold? Future is extremely bright. Offensively, I feel great where we're at. You know, Pat Elflein coming back will be a center. You got your quarterback back for a couple more years. You got 2 good young tailback, or 1 older tailback, Briante, and then you got Weber, and you got some Curtis Samuel, Dontre Wilson, Noah Brown, Corey Smith. It looks like there's a potential for a 6th year. We're still moving as if he's going to get it, which is a great sign. You have a kid named KJ Hill, Marcus Ball, and then we recruited very well in the offensive line. So I feel very strong about the offense. Defense, you're going to have to replace some guys. The interior defense line is the biggest concern, but we have some guys coming in. I'm not allowed to talk about them yet, but a couple guys will be here in about a week because they're starting. I think we have 8 guys coming in mid-semester. Is that right, Jerry? 7 or 8. And so we're just got to keep. I think we have 4 spots left in recruiting that we're going to do our best to close the door. So it's going to be kind of, I think I compare it to, as I discussed with our staff, very similar to the 2014 team. That was a team of development. You know, that was a team where Eli Apples and Von Bell, Darren Lee, guys who either redshirted or didn't play much, didn't have a big input into that 2013 season. 2013, our leading receiver, Philly Brown, leading rusher, Carlos Hyde, and then it turned out to be our leading player. Braxton Miller did not play in 2014, and he saw a steady improvement and obviously culminated in a pretty good finish. So I think I'll answer questions. Jerry's giving me a lot of stuff to look at, but I'll just answer some questions for you.
We'll start over here on the right, Rob.
Urban, you lose 9 guys or leaving early, it's like, whoa, but long-term big picture, is that not a good thing for the program in terms of selling it?
You're a half-full guy then. Anytime I'm a fan of great players, and a bunch of those guys are going to play for a while. So you have to look at it that way. I mean, we recruited very well. The door's open now. You know, a guy like KJ Hill, we almost played him this year, but we didn't. You know, you got Dontre Wilson, who's busted his tail, and he's got to get through the injury bug. You got Marshawn Lattimore. You got all these really good young players that it's their time to shine and time to go. So, and I really like the class coming in. So, is what it is.
This is part of what you do, right? I mean, NFL, you don't deal with this. College, this is just what you get used to. How do you get frustrated?
No, 9's a lot. You know, 9's a lot. You know, the 4 or 5. Like one year at Florida, we had 12 players send in their paperwork, you know, and you're like, my goodness. And I remember LSU, I think, had 8 or 9 one time. But I mean, it's what we do, and you recruit. I've been in scenarios where that's not a whole lot of conversation about the NFL because you don't have those caliber players. This was over the top. I mean, this started on January 13th. And that's why, again, I credit to the coaching staff we have. I also credit, most of the credit goes to our players. To keep, you know, all of a sudden you're a guy that's getting phone calls nonstop from agents. Your family is nonstop from agents and people with a lot of opinions. And then you go out and simply push play. You know, it's very evaluation, you know, against a team that's really good, Notre Dame. And did they play hard? They played like their hair was on fire. And the last 2 games, so that's a credit to what kind of people they are.
Urban, when you say that number 9, did any of the 9 surprise you? Maybe you don't need to name names, but the decisions.
A couple, yeah, a couple. I'm not going to get into names, but then I thought, you know, I'll say one that did was Tyvus, you know, but he is a 4-year guy. This would have been his 5th year. 5th years are so rare now. That's why you don't need redshirt guys. His dream was to follow. He was a pro, the way he handled it. He's been a captain. He's been a national champion. And I love Tyvus. He's got his degree.
When you guys sit down and have those conversations, what are they? What are the things that you really discuss? And is there any time where you're trying to recruit players that have been in your system for so long just to stick around?
Recruit's not fair, and I don't ever, not recruit, but factual conversation. There's a Mickey and our staff is so well connected to the NFL that when there's, when an agent says, hey, I can get you up into the third round, agents can't get you anywhere. It's you that have to do it. So we just help them with that kind of stuff. It's more factual information.
Middle, Dave.
You touched on running back briefly. How do you envision that going? I know that's to be determined, but do you think Curtis Samuel is going to be your guy, or Mike Weber, or just Briante Dunn? Or do you think it's going to be running back by committee?
I don't know. I think it's open door. We're going to see what we got. We're excited about every name you just mentioned. We're excited about it. Briante's made a great step as far as selflessness towards the team. Weber has shown incredible talent. We got some guys coming in mid-semester too. So you got Dontre Wilson, who I want to get him out of the backfield too a little bit. He's building his body. He's up to 195, 198. Get him to be a 200-pound guy. So real excited about that.
I think you touched briefly on recruiting numbers too. How many more could you get in this class? I think you guys have. How many can you get to?
I don't want to tell you. I think 4 or 5. I don't want to tell you
Gotcha.
because I might be off by 1.
Far left there. Excuse me, Ari.
Recruiting question. When you expected that you were maybe not 9, but that you guys were going to have a lot of guys go, have you been recruiting with the assumption that that was going to happen, or have you had to change your plan at the end to add more spots? How was that going?
Yeah, we were recruiting the premise of 6-ish, and then the 9 showed up, and it's going to be a little more jump into it, which it has been the last 3 days.
And at the end of the Michigan game, you guys had a lead. You had a lead against Notre Dame. Did you ever envision or think about putting Cardale Jones in, and maybe why didn't he get into the game?
I'll be honest with you, I did not think about that. That's something that might have been appropriate to do. I didn't think about it.
Far left there, Matt.
You kind of touched on it, the 15-4 for 4 years and what you've done the last 2 years. How do you look at this run in that, as you mentioned, you lose by 3 points to a team, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that are like, what could have been? How do you look at what these guys accomplished over 4 years, specifically the last 2 years? Is there regret at all?
Kirk Barton sent, and I love Kirk Barton. He sent me a text, and I got it like late at night. My phone buzzed. I looked over, and it said, "Great, congratulations, da 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 da," and something about people who are being critical. And I looked, and I read it again. I said, 15-4. I wrote back to him critical, but first of all, I'm glad I don't. I know you hear coaches say they don't read. I don't read. He knows. The only thing that goes on my desk are very positive note. That's it. All I want to see is positive. But I will not be critical of our team, what they did. If you're asking me personally, I am absolutely ecstatic for the way they remain professional, because I've seen the other end of that. I'm sure you guys have too. If you cover the sport long enough and you know the social media now, the human element involved, the uncles, third uncles, the don't play, don't do that. And you saw, all you got to do is watch the way we played in that Fiesta Bowl. And that team was playing as if it was the Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame. And that's all I care about.
And obviously, you're losing a lot, but do expectations in this room for this football team change?
Well, it's a hunger. It's going to be back to, like I said, a 2014 hungry, nasty, mean team, I hope. That's something that they're all home now. And the one thing is we have very good leadership. I'm going to, Pat Elflein's a captain. JT Barrett's a captain. Raekwon McMillan's a captain. We're going to name Coach Mick and I are working on already. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but those are 3 captains that we're not waiting until, you won't hear that in August like we normally do. It's done. And we're going to, because we need to, accelerate the growth of some guys. The good thing is, like I look at the offensive line right now, and it could be outstanding with Pat driving the show and the leadership. And I look at the skill position receivers, that could be outstanding if you have JT Barrett leading the go. And same with the D-line, where, Tyquan Lewis and Sam Hubbard have really come of age at the back end, Garyon Conley is going to be, a guy. So we're going to name some leaders early on, and it's going to be energy-filled offseason.
Second row middle, Tony.
Coach, you'd mentioned in the past that you need a veteran offensive line to keep Ed Warner upstairs. Do you think that, given the performance against Michigan and Notre Dame, are you going to try to find a way to make that happen next year?
Yeah, and, that's still in the evaluation phase. I think the performance of Coach Warner was outstanding upstairs. So was Tim Beck. I thought our guys did a good job. Once again, those are two. I know the team up north was top 10 defense. I think these guys were close, and that was outstanding football. Oh, I will say this, that we are going to change some offense. We're going to be more balanced, and that's a commitment I made. We threw the ball, I want to say, at least 40 calls. It was 31 throws because of some scrambles in there, but we want to be much more balanced.
Front row, Bill.
You've got 6 returning starters. Of the guys that you're looking to break through, are there maybe like 5 guys that you could name that you're like, these guys need to make that jump?
Sure. I mean, I'm going to miss some, but since you asked, Isaiah Prince is going to make a huge jump. Noah Brown, we all know it. You guys never really got to see him in the training camp. He was one of our 1, 2, 3 best receivers on our team when he got hurt. Marcus Ball's got to continue to grow. Jamarco Jones is a key cog to the wheel, and then I still know who the right guard will be. Mikey Weber and Briante Dunn. Curtis Samuel's got to, instead of being a guy second to someone, he's got to become, him and Dontre got to take charge. On defense, you got a kid named Jerome Baker, who has got incredible talent. He's got to really step up. Chris Worley's got to really step up. And then you got at safety position, you got Eric Smith, Cam Burrows, and Malik Hooker, Malik Hooker was dominant in kicking game for us. So there's some names.
Is this fun for you to know that, this year you were the hunted, and there was a lot of pressure on you guys, and at times you played like it. This next year, it's going to be a different story. Is that fun for you as a coach?
Fun. Is it, you use that word sometimes, fun. It'll be a challenge, and challenges are fun. I don't use that word much, fun.
What's the right word? Invigorating.
You said it.
And you foresee any staff changes?
No.
Far right over here, Clay.
How much pause did the NFL overture, which we now know is Brown, did you think about that hard?
I don't want to get, I'm not naming teams, and I'm not getting, what's happened once before in my career several years ago, and it makes you think just because of respect, but I love where I'm at.
Third row, David.
You had so many great leaders on this team, seniors, captains. Who are going to be those guys next year?
I just named 3 of them. They're actually captains now, and that's Pat Elflein, that's Raekwon McMillan, and J.T. Barrett. And we're going to name more as we, that's going to be a big part of what Mick and I do here in the next couple months.
You already see them start taking over those roles?
Oh, J.T. Barrett took, yeah, absolutely. They're not here, but they will.
And last couple of questions, front row left, Doug.
Urban, Torrance Gibson had some interesting things to say after the game, just talking about that he felt
Torrance Gibson.
Torrance Gibson, when we talked to him in the locker room after the Fiesta Bowl, said that what he went through this year, he felt like he got humbled a little bit. We know he's a guy, he seemed very receptive to everything that happened this year with him. He seems like a guy with a lot of talent. Can you just, you've talked about it a little bit, but what was it like maybe trying to get through to him this year, and where do you see him eventually at Ohio State?
I didn't know you guys talked to him. That's great. Torrance had a 2.7 GPA, worked his rear end off in a highly competitive, obviously, university. I'd say mid-stroke, probably September-ish is when he really grew up. I love Torrance Gibson. I love his talent. I love the fact that he did well academically. I think it's a future without, I use this comment sometime there, I don't see a ceiling. I would love to use him at quarterback / because he's that good of an athlete. So this spring is going to be big, but his maturity level from the day he walked on his campus to now I can't be more proud of what that young guys did. I'm actually glad. I didn't know you got to talk to him, but very mature compared to where he was.
And I know you've been talking about how impressed you were with how your guys handled this season. I know you as a coach have a million decisions you make every day. 2 decisions that you had this year, if you could just evaluate how you handled them. In the end, the quarterbacks, do you think do you wish, could you have, should you have gone to JT any earlier? And we saw the change when Ed went upstairs. Could you have, should you have gone to Ed upstairs any earlier?
Very good question. I'm going to be very careful how to answer that because I'm not done with the evaluation of it yet. I'm the hardest evaluator on myself. You went 12-1. That's the bottom line. Would that have changed the 1? The Cardell situation, you know, he's leaving Ohio State. 3 wins against top 10 teams, the national champ, undefeated. But could you have moved JT in there earlier? I'm not going to answer that because I don't know the answer. I'm going to keep evaluating, and I'm sure every one of you have opinions on woulda, coulda, shoulda. I know that was a very difficult. I asked Tim Beck and I had a conversation the other day. That was a grind. That was a anguish, or just a knot in your stomach. That are you doing the right thing? Are you doing the right thing? And I care about Ohio State, but I'm probably one of the, I care about those kids. I don't want to say more, but I actually do. I care about the future of Cardell Jones. I care about the future of JT Barrett. So maybe down the road we'll have a little chat about that. I'm not prepared to answer that.
How about Ed upstairs?
Another good question. You mean, did it too late?
I mean, it obviously seemed like it worked
Yeah.
once you did it. Yeah, did you do it too late?
That, yeah, 12-1. I think you said something, be positive here, right? I think those are great. Those are great questions, and I might, if it's positive, let me read his article. If it's not, don't. I don't know. I think it's worth, that's a good conversation to have, and that's something I'll self-evaluate.
And far left, Tim?
Here, a couple, just following up on that, what did you learn as a head coach this year, just dealing with those kind of questions? Where did you feel you grew as you look in the mirror and evaluate yourself?
Well, where I grew was, and I make these comments all the time, that I learned as much football and as much about life as I ever have from the 2014 Ohio State Buckeyes. I might have matched that this year. And it was a senior tackle when this whole thing kicked back into gear, because it was a shot that, Jack Park was a better history guy than I am about the history, but that was a tough loss we had. And you look on the schedule, you got 2 top 20, top 10 teams coming up behind you, 1 on the road, and the game. And that senior tackle and the emotion and power of the unit and small unit cohesion was just so, it was magnificent. It was, I just sat there and watched. I wish we could have let you watch that. And that's when the whole thing went like this. And Taylor Decker spoke, Nick Vanette spoke, and they all spoke, and you could just see that this was so real for these players, what they've been through. And that, number one, and then number two, to be able to remain focused when I can only imagine, because I've talked to our players about it, the amount of phone calls from people in the representatives of the national, unbelievable, to the point where they're shutting their phone off because they can't silent it because it's just buzzing all the way through the night. And here they come in here, and we're telling them how to cover on kickoffs. Von Bell's running down on kickoffs for us, and then he's having people calling him saying, hey, why would you do that? And so there's got to be a reason why. Why would you run down on kickoff? And that's a good question for all of us to ask. Why would you do that? Why would Zeke Elliott play so damn hard? His blocking, by the way, in that final game was as good as it's ever been. Why would he do that? And I always ask my question, and I'm going to ask this team coming back, why did he do that? And he did it for love of teammate, for love of unit, and for the culture that's here at Ohio State.
I got here, obviously, I got kind of a couple of school buses. That's the way life goes. 9 guys leaving, is that a compliment to your program? Do you use that in some kind of, interesting way in recruiting that,
Sure.
obviously that's more guys than probably you wanted to leave, but I mean, it's,
Pretty good
Is it
football.
not only opportunity, but the fact that you are accelerating them toward the league, which a lot of these guys, that's their.
Yeah, that's a big part of recruiting now. I'd have to say that we develop them. The thing about a good chunk of those guys too. Darren Lee. Someone posted a picture of the skinny neck quarterback from New Albany is now going to the NFL. And that's a credit to Coach Mick, his position coach, development of what goes on here. And I think that our sports performance team with Coach Marati's in charge of is second to none. And you can just look at the body types that you see play for us, and when our opponents say that to us all the time, that we're not that big, slow, fat team. We're a team, and that's what NFL people are looking for. So, we had a lot of players graduate. We had the highest graduation rate in the Ohio State football history. We just set a national record for 50 wins, and we probably have some kind of record for most guys going to the draft. So, of course, we're using that. If you guys want to print it just like that and send it all over the country, that's good.
And let's say the Bosa thing. Clearly, he hit the man with the top of his helmet.
Yeah.
And clearly, he didn't hurt him. Hit him in the chest plate. Is that something that you, as a coach, a high-standing coach, would push to review, maybe with the rules makers this year?
I'm
how do you
debating
look at
that.
I mean, clearly.
I think the game has changed so much. It's so safe right now compared to others. And it's because kids, we do not teach that. And I asked the official, he came over, and I knew it was below it wasn't a targeting, but the first part of the whole rule says you're hit with the crown of your helmet. And he did. So that was the correct call. Do I agree with that call? Was there a chance anybody getting hurt? No, but we don't teach that. So that was, by the way, that was when that hit, and I knew our depth of the D-line issue, I thought we could lose the game. But hindsight, I'm all in this player safety, and I think the game, I know that in my 30 years of association with college football, it's never been safer.
I'll follow up on it real quick, but you saw your 2016 defensive line maybe have to play the rest of the game, or at least part of it. What does that do springing forward?
Well, you got a whole bunch of guys that redshirted too. We got Draymond's a guy that we're very, very excited about. You got a couple kids coming in here, going to be here in a week, that we're very, very excited about. So it's going to be the winter of development.
Does that allow you, the guys that are enrolling, does that allow you to bring more guys, to go after more guys the last 3 weeks?
That's a
Maybe-
finite number.
Okay.
We were down to, I think, 4 or 5, I told someone.
Okay, yeah.